Good evening and welcome to Face to Face. I'm Niresh Eliathambi. We have with us tonight Mr. Upul Jayasuriya, President's Counsel, former Chairman of the Board of Investment of Sri Lanka and former President of the Bar Association. Welcome, Mr. Jayasuriya.
Welcome, thank you.
Now, our topic tonight is the corruption in the entire system in Sri Lanka and the need for system change. And let me start off by asking Mr. Jayasuriya. Mr. Jayasuriya, it wasn't the traffic policeman who took a 500 rupee bribe who bankrupted the country. It wasn't the office assistant at the municipal council who took 200 rupees to get something signed. It was the white-collar criminals, the ones in power in cabinet during various regimes. How do you stop that?
Actually, today the white-collar crime has developed to such an extent. It is a cancer. It is a cancer. It is so sad to see even the powers that be, the government officials, not only the officials but also the politicians of the highest echelons, and also certain political parties are all in this process of white-collar crime. And people, man on the road doesn't get to know most of this as to what is happening. They don't understand it. All that happens is finally at the end of the day, government says we have no money to bring the medicine. We have no money to give the whatever the support services to the people, or children to be given the midday meal. So for all those facilitation process for the people, there is no money, because money has gone somewhere else. That is where the biggest problem that we are facing today.
Now, there was a quaint assumption with the Aragalaya and a new government and new president being put in place, that the level of corruption would be less because the country itself was bankrupt. But that has that happened? Has it got less? Has it stopped?
Yes, Aragalaya started with the best of intentions. But I don't think even those young men and women who were involved with Aragalaya knew the extent of this criminal activity, the corruption that is going on in our society. Then and even now, after the Aragalaya, it is even worse. That is even another shocking situation. Now, for instance, at that time, what happened before that was, I can give you one example, was there was this avant-garde security thing that was handled by a certain private company, which was taken over during the Mr. Maithripala Sirisena's presidency. It was taken over and then given to the Navy, as it should be, because the country has been represented to various foreign governments and then obtained those contracts at the time. Then they got those contracts. But then at that point, after 2015, it was all managed by the Navy. I think for a year they were earning something like more than ₹1 billion, maybe 1.5 billion in foreign currency. Then soon after 2019, this whole thing has been given back to the same company that was doing it. Nobody raised a finger about it. Then most recently, I think I saw it in the papers today, that Lanka Transformers shares owned by the CEB, 28% of those shares have been sold to a company called West Coast. Now when you say West Coast, the reader might think, this must be some foreign company that has come to Sri Lanka with some money and they have bought the shares. No, it is not so. West Coast is a company that is owned by Lakdanavi. Lakdanavi is owned by Lanka Transformers. Now Lanka Transformers shares were divided between two parties. That was CEB owned 63% and 27% was owned by a Norwegian company called ABB. At a certain point of time, and also it was a tradition that the CEB had to appoint either its own chairman or a nominee of the CEB to be the chairman of Lanka Transformers. So it's a totally government-owned company. But then with this at a certain point, the shares, there was also 10% shares that were issued to the employees, which were transferred to a company called ESOT, Employee Share Ownership Trust. Then from there, the same ESOT with another incorporated company, they went and bought 27% of the shares that were owned by the ABB.
ABB of Norway.
ABB of Norway.
So then the ABB...
the foreign
ABB
shareholding came back to Sri Lanka, and that was owned by the Share Ownership Trust.
So ABB has now exited the scene.
They have exited. Now, still the government executive control was there, 63%. Now, with this transaction, which has gone for the purpose of that they say that the excuse is that they were unable to, CB was unable to pay the debt for whatever the power that they have used from whatever is generated by the West Coast company. For that, in lieu of that payment, they have transferred the shares of 26% shares. Now, CB has now become the minority shareholder. The major shareholder is supposed to be the employees. I'll come to that later. Supposed to be the employees. Now, the employees don't know whatever is happening in this as regards their shares are concerned. These shares are controlled by 4 people of the Lanka Transformers. They are top people. They have created a situation at a certain point of time, they have transferred these shares to another company, 1 or 2 companies. And they are owning, these 4 or 5 people are owning 90% of the shares of that company that owns now 37%.
That is West Coast power, is it?
No, not West Coast. I'm talking about the Share Ownership Trust.
Share Ownership Trust.
Share Ownership Trust, now ESOT, which is now referred to as some other company. I think I can't remember the name of the company. There are 2 companies that were created for that purpose. Now they are controlling 37% of the shares. Supposed to be employees. But in short, it is not the employees. Employees do not know whatever is happening in the company. It is now taken over by these 5 people and they are controlling. Now they are the major shareholders. Now 37% is added on by another 27%. Another 26%. I mean, this is unbelievable.
But Mr. Jayasuriya, such matters surely have been passed by cabinet and perhaps also in parliament?
We see here and there people like, even I saw the former president Mr. Mahinda Rajapaksa said that we should not be selling the assets of the government. They say it one thing for the public consumption. They allow all these things to happen. I mean, this is shocking. This is unconscionable. The government, this entire company, according to the valuation of the CB, I don't know who had done the valuation, whether they have the proper valuation done. According to that valuation, this company is worth 100 billion. 100 billion. But I would say it's much more than that.
100 billion rupee
100
company.
billion rupee company. And these people have paid themselves, we have only the figures for a particular year, that are 2014 or so. They have paid themselves, these 5 people have paid themselves dividends 550 million rupees. These 5 people have been paid. What have the employees been paid? Nothing. Do they have annual general meeting? Nothing. No, it just goes on.
But so, it's a government company. It was set up with the majority shareholding being held by the CEB, and it's an old company. I think it was somewhere in the 1990s that it was set up.
Yes, but in the meantime, by sometime in 2019, the JVP, the anti-corruption unit head and 3 other employees filed a case. They made a huge complaint about this. In that complaint, they said all these things were revealed. All these things were revealed, how they were doing, how they were managing. They were asking the court to stop them from functioning in their positions and get the CID to do the investigation, right? And to suspend the share transactions. All that was asked. Huge complaints were made. Now you see, usually, normally in all these fundamental, that is a fundamental rights application. In this fundamental rights application, when it comes to the court, usually what happens is, other than in very rare instances, the Attorney General's Department representatives come to court and then they fight it, saying that there is no locus standi or there is no violation of fundamental rights, and it goes on. But here is one exceptional situation. Additional Solicitor General, very honorable person, I must pay the compliment to him, came to court and they said, no, there is a huge fraud that is going on in this company. This must be investigated. This is a public interest matter that has been brought to court. This cannot be allowed to be withdrawn, because at that time the JVP led petitioners wanted to withdraw this. So then, I mean, it is very rare kind of a situation. What happened then was, the judges said normally it is not allowed to withdraw this kind of thing, because courts are also aware that there will be pressure brought on the petitioners by various parties on different circumstances, by various kinds of pressures, maybe from time to time, it may be vary from one to another. But here in this instance, the judges allowed it. I mean, this is shocking, shocking. And it goes on, now the entire control has been given to the private people. The same people are controlling. But the employees, they're supposed to be representing the employees do not know whatever is happening there. There has been a CID complaint that has been made in regard to these transactions many years ago. Nothing has happened. That is why, as far as the SJB is concerned, we have proposed some far-reaching changes have been proposed, that if a complaint is made either to the Private Commission or to the CID, the complaint has to be investigated and then concluded within 3 months. Within 3 months.
Mr. Jayasuriya, before we get to that, let me just clarify something here. The CEB no longer has the controlling stake in Lanka Transformers. Would that be correct?
That's correct.
But
because they are now left with 35%, the so-called ESOT or whatever the company that they are now referred to, they have issued themselves shares up to 90%. Employees are now, by the way, and plus now this 26% shares, 28% shares have been now given back again to Lakdanavi, which is also owned by Lanka Transformers. So they are controlling 28% plus 37%.
But this is all happening within the power sector, power and energy sector, and at a time when that sector is fighting tooth and nail to stop its own restructuring by the government, and it's taken almost 2 years to bring any kind of restructuring process in, and we still haven't seen any restructuring. But here we have billions of rupees in shares just changing hands, and there's no proper explanation for it.
The sad part of the story is the poor man doesn't know what's happening. All that he knows is the electricity tariff has been increased threefold, and they can't afford to pay their electricity bills, and as a result of it, more than 700,000 electricity connections have been disconnected. They are suffering. Temples have got their electricity connections disconnected. People can't, the children can't read, do their normal day-to-day studies. But this is what happens at the CEB. Now the CEB chairman and the board of directors should be taken to task. This is a totally corrupt and a stinking transaction that has taken place. Stinking transaction. This should never be allowed.
In all fairness, of course, the CEB chairman and board are not here to present their version of events, but I'm sure they will as time goes by, and we certainly would welcome that. Mr. Jayasuriya, you were talking about reforms. How do you reform a system like this?
You know, when the government changed in 2019, there were about 700 CID officers who were transferred out of the CID. They were doing the investigations of all the ongoing corruption issues, and then murders and the deaths of
Easter bombings.
Easter bombing, the Lasanta Vikramatunga, the disappearance of 11 children, like that, so many. So
high profile cases.
High profile and low profile, all were there. So the whole thing was brought to a grinding halt. So what we are proposing is, sometimes they might say, no, the retired officers cannot be brought back because they are retired and gone. No way. With the, whatever you call it, contract, or you may call whatever, they have to be brought back and then asked to continue with their investigations and then bring the perpetrators before justice. So and we will give them only 3 months. We will change the law. Whatever the complaint that will be made, as I said earlier, these complaints should be investigated and concluded within 3 months, whether it's for the Bribery Commission or for the CID, it should be done. And if they want more time, yes, they must make an application to the court and ask for more time. The maximum they will be given another 3 months more. Anyway, in any event, the indictment should be forwarded if found reasonable within a matter of 1 year from the date of the complaint. And such matters should be, if the value of the transaction or the fraud is anything in excess of 5 million rupees, these cases should be heard day to day, because now it happens, there is a case coming up for trial today, and the next date would be 1 year ahead. It serves no purpose. These cases should be heard before a trial at bar, and if the judges are not enough, you can recruit the judges who are on contract, either who have now retired and gone. They are very experienced judges. Bring them and then get them to sit without even finding new courthouses. In the same courthouses, afternoon sessions, they can do that. They can hear these cases even till late night. So these changes have to occur. These are changes that have to be made by legal reforms. You can't just say that we are going to do this, that and the other. But we have identified what are the legal reforms that have to be done. It's not a question of giving legal power or the power of administration of justice to the people. People's power is exercised by court, no one else. Some people I heard saying that it should be given back to the people. No, there is nothing like that. Only a person who is only an imbecile would say such a thing, who knows next to nothing about what the law is and how this the process takes place. The people's power is given through the parliament to the courts. That can't be taken back.
That's correct.
No one can take it back. So these are just a few, the Easter bomb cases, then so many other cases have to be given back. Now, for instance, if I give another example, we found the other day a complaint that was made by Mr. Sujio Senasinghe with regard to the Greek bonds matter. Purchase of Greek bonds by Nihat Cabral at that time. And we incurred a loss of more than 3.5 billion rupees at that time. 3.5 billion rupees. And that complaint was made in 2011. It was only a month back the indictment has been filed against Nihat Cabral. 12 years later, does it make any sense? The witnesses may be dead, or most of them have retired and gone. Some of those accused are even retired. So this you are making an effort through these institutions to kill the institution, to kill these issues. That is why Mr. Sajith Premadasa has time and again he has been saying, no, I will not be sitting there to catch A, B, C or D or rogues here and there. I will be making these institutions strong and independent so that they will have the stamina and the power and the wherewithal and all the support services will be there with them for them to continue the investigations, start the investigations, continue it, and then bring it to a final conclusion through the process of court with the necessary changes that are to be done.
But Mr. Jayasuriya, we have seen many such efforts before which get stalled because of lack of personnel or lack of finances. Something always gets in the way and these investigations just get shelved for years and years. In the case of the Greek bonds, 13 years. I mean, even at the time that the Greek bonds were purchased, it was public knowledge that it was simply a bad deal to purchase the bonds from a bankrupt nation, which Greece was at the time. But it's taken 13 years. So how do you actually, in effect, ensure this? Because now if you take the Bribery Commission, what's gone wrong with it?
The problem is the Bribery Commission is not given the sufficient number of investigators, the sufficient number of support services. There is modern technology. There are recording devices which can do the recording of a conversation that takes place 500 meters away or even at least 50 meters to say the least. Now these instruments are not available with the Commission. And they don't have the expertise with regard to on the accountancy side, sometimes the legal side. Of course, the legal side they can even consult the Attorney General. Sometimes the medical side. Like that, they must be given those support services, and we are proposing those services to be obtained from various professional associations, instead of chartered accountants, instead of engineers, Bar Association of Sri Lanka, and also we have proposed this 116 proposals, and in the 39th proposal there we said the CIAPOC to be provided sufficient funds to recruit necessary expertise in the relevant field drawn from respective professional associations for consultation.
So it will be more of a collective effort.
It's a very collective effort, and also it will be a considered effort, not just look at the current situation. I am not blaming the Commission. Everyone is aware that there was a case that was filed by 3 eminent personalities who were professors of the Open University with regard to the crash of the economy. The courts have found, in a historical landmark judgment, the courts have found that the 3 Rajapaksa brothers, Gotabe, Mahinda, Basil, then Niwad Kabral, P.B. Jayasuriya, then Artigala, and 1 or 2 others, are responsible for this crash of the economy. Then this was also complained to the Bribery Commission. Nearly 4 or 5 months ago, the Bribery Commission sent them a letter and then said that they have decided to investigate about it. Now the judgment has been delivered more than 6 months ago. Up to this moment, only one interview was held. They were asked to come and then bring all whatever the document they have. The entire dossier of those files were given to them. I don't think they have the capacity to read and understand what has really gone on. They must be able to understand the judgment in the first place. What is said there. These are matters that needs the support and the assistance of the Attorney General's Department. They are fairly capable officers are there in the Attorney General's Department. So without which we can't do this. There must be some divider. The law should be changed to that extent.
Right. You have also, I believe, proposed special courts for the politicians who are indicted with major financial crimes and other crimes. But we will first take a short break and we'll come right back to discuss that. Don't go away.
ඔයාලා දන්නේ නැහැනේ මං කරපු කියපු දේවල්. අද අභිමන්ට උනත් මෙහි වැටිලා ඉන්න ඉතුරුනේ මම මේක රැකගත්ත හින්දා.
හැබැයි දූට කරපු දෙයට මට ඔය කුරුල්ලා ගෙදරට ගිහිල්ලා ඔකි ගෙදරින් එළියට ඇදලා කන්ට දෙකක් දෙන්න හිතුණා.
කුරුළු මොකද අනේ පෙරිහම් දෙන්නේ? කුරුළු නෑනේ.
නීල පබලු අද රාත්‍රී 9ට සිරස ටෙලිතිරයෙන්.
We live in a world of progress, but what if progress isn't reaching everyone? Millions of Sri Lankans struggle without access to clean water, safe roads and bridges to a better life. But you have reached out. You have touched their lives. Thank you, Sri Lanka, for making Gammadda the most impactful rural development movement in our nation. Gammadda, for the people, by the people.
T20 ක්‍රිකට් ලෝක කුසලාන තරගාවලිය ජූනි 2 වෙනිදා සිට 29 වෙනිදා දක්වා ඇමරිකා එක්සත් ජනපදයේදී සහ බටහිර ඉන්දිය කොදෙව් දේශයේදී මිහි මත උද්වේගකරම ක්‍රිකට් තරගාවලියේ විස්මය මිස් කරගන්නේ නැතුව බලන්න සිරස TV සහ TV1 සමග රැඳෙන්න T20 ක්‍රිකට් ලෝක කුසලාන තරගාවලිය Sirasa TV, TV1, Shakti TV, www.sirasatv.lk web අඩවියෙන්ද තරග සජීවීව නැරඹිය හැකි.
මිලියන 20ක හાર્ට් එකේ බීට් එක ක්‍රිකට්.
Are you an enthusiast of robotics? Are you passionate about teamwork? Get ready for the Clash of Robots, RoboFest 2024, 19th and 20th of September, organized by the Slit Faculty of Engineering. For more details, please contact Ravinath at 077-2060-725 or Lakindu at 076-6945-145. Media sponsor, TV1 Sirasa TV.
Welcome back to Face to Face. We are with Mr. Upul Jayasuriya, President's Counsel. Mr. Jayasuriya, just before the break, we started discussing the proposal by your party to have special courts for politicians.
Yes, in some other countries this is there, because they can't take cover under the laws, delays, and then get hidden there. So when there are highly politically sensitive people being found fault or when they are indicted, they must be probed, not only probed, and also inquired into by a special court, maybe by experienced judges. When you say special court, that does mean that people who are not in the judicial system will be brought back. The same, those judges will be nominated by the Chief Justice, and they probably will be, not probably, most essentially, they'll be High Court judges, they'll be experienced High Court judges, and they'll be given, okay, so that the idea is that they will not be able to delay this process. They will continue to hear these cases.
Right. And you are also proposing a whole set of new changes to the justice system. I see a court of appeal in each province, I believe, and a constitutional court, and an independent public prosecutor, and a public defender as well. Could you tell us more about these new concepts?
Yes, public defender is required. It is there in many countries, USA, UK, it is there, because the people, we find so many cell deaths. No sooner they are taken into custody, they are being tortured, they have been massacred, and then every time they say, now we are taking them to show where the weapons have been hidden away. Then in the rush they say, no, he tried to escape, and there was a crossfire, he got shot. All kinds of tall stories have been said. Now they must put a stop to this. It is never the case. So if there is a public defender and a public prosecutor, which is different from the Attorney General's Department, and that public prosecutor will also be regional. For every province there will be a public prosecutor. So you can immediately, the public defender can immediately approach the public prosecutor and then bring such heinous activities that are taking place where the rule of law is being drifted away in a different direction, and then bring some justice, speedy justice. Because in a situation like that, if you have to file a fundamental rights application in the Supreme Court and then get orders to prevent that kind of assault going on, it never happens like that. It just can't happen like that. But immediate response can be given by a public defender to the public prosecutor. And so that the process of this delaying process can also be overcome. Then also we have also proposed that at the moment there are about close to 50 cases that were withdrawn or discharged by courts that were filed by the Bribery Commission, for the reason that, for a technical reason that the three chairmen, the three commissioners of the Bribery Commission have not signed the warrant. Now, it is a very simple thing. Now, they can take it back and then sign the warrant and send it. But none of these cases, maybe except one or two instances, have been brought back with a fresh indictment in the legal process.
That seems rather ridiculous.
Ridiculous. It's not more than ridiculous. It's a fraud perpetrated on the people of this country.
And what about this?
They will be the indictment will be forwarded. We will compel them to forward those indictments and then begin those trials immediately.
You're proposing a near complete overhaul of the court system, of the justice system. What chances are there of succeeding?
There is no question of succeeding. We have to do these things. We are proposing even the changes of law to be brought in to challenge the laws that are there in the book. The post-legislative review is not there in Sri Lanka. So we are going to bring that in. And also we are also proposing a constitutional court, because at the moment there are so many constitutional matters. Why should only the president be allowed to ask for a determination or a review of a particular or interpretation of a particular legal provision in the constitution? Should it not be a right that should be there even for the ordinary man to go before the constitutional court and ask for a interpretation of a certain clause without having to wait till the occurrence of an event? Well in advance you can go for that, so that you are ready for it if such a situation arises.
Now that brings us to an event which occurred today, where a certain former member of parliament has said that there should be a proposal to parliament to defer the elections for 2 years. So this makes the whole political situation rather murky, and is it true? Is it misinformation? The public has a right to know what's the correct situation. What's your opinion on that?
Well, the utterance of such a statement, which I will not hesitate to call is stupid. A person who makes that kind of a statement must first examine where his brain is, whether he's sitting on it or elsewhere. But I don't laugh it off also. Now, one must first understand that the presidency, by the constitutional provision, comes to an end on a certain date. That is an entrenched provision. Not a question of holding the election. The presidency comes to an end. No sooner the president is out, the cabinet is out. So, firstly, if you want to bring an amendment like that, you must get 2/3 majority. Do you have 2/3 majority? I don't think so. Then with that, you must go for a referendum. But this is not something that can be changed with a referendum, because there are certain entrenched clauses in the constitution that even with a 2/3 majority that you can't change. This is one of it.
So it looks like, according to your opinion, that we will have elections as scheduled before mid-October.
Quoting His Excellency the President himself, he has said the elections will be held. So we will take that. I don't think he would lie on a thing like that, being a lawyer himself.
Oh, absolutely. And let's hope that he hasn't changed his mind or somebody given him the wrong advice. Now, another aspect that you are proposing is the Constitutional Court, and what type of judges would be making up that court? Would it be Supreme Court judges?
We are proposing not the Supreme Court judges. Those Supreme Court judges are retiring at the age of 65 years.
That's right.
We are proposing that the judges of the Constitutional Court to be between 65 years and 75 years. So maybe some of them can come from those who retire from the Supreme Court. There are many eminent judges. I must also pay this compliment to not only the Supreme Court but also the Court of Appeal. The little bit of democracy that is there in this country, little bit of transparency that is there in this country is due to the efforts of these two apex courts, particularly the Supreme Court. So there are many eminent judges. We have had judges who were in the World Court, one who presided the World Court, like that. Not only in the past, but even the present and the future, there will be many eminent judges. So those are the people who should adorn the Constitutional Court and then make their contribution at a time when it is most needed, when such matters would come up.
But correct me if I'm wrong, aren't there several vacancies right now in the Court of Appeal and the Supreme Court?
The Court of Appeal, there are 5 vacancies, and the Supreme Court, there are 2 vacancies.
And they haven't been filled for some time?
They haven't been filled, and there is an order made by the Supreme Court that those vacancies should not be filled until this matter with regard to Justice Bandula Karunathan is concluded.
I see. But when you don't have such judges in place, that would of course hamper the courts.
Particularly the Court of Appeal, we are having a problem because losing 5 judges out of 17 is not a small number of judges. We can see as practitioners, we come across the situation where many cases have been postponed without having to administer justice in a speedy manner.
Now, there have been several bills which have been rushed through Parliament, such as the Online Safety Bill, and once they are passed by Parliament, of course, they become permanent. Another example is the Prevention of Terrorism Act, which has been with us for, my goodness, over 40 years. What would your stance be on such acts which are quite irregular?
We have had two proposals with regard to those, Online Safety Bill and also the Anti-Terrorism Act. We have said that we are going to withdraw both those, not bills, now they have become law, and then particularly the Online Safety will be redrafted, keeping in mind particularly the women and children are concerned. Because there is a problem as far as the social media is concerned, as far as those vulnerable groups are concerned. So that should be the cause. But up to this moment, I have not seen a single case that has been filed by a woman or a child with regard to the abuse of their privacy by the online issues. So they will be definitely withdrawn and redrafted and then presented in a more people-friendly manner.
However, I believe several members of Parliament have complained that they have been insulted on social media and that the Online Safety Act should be brought into play.
I can tell you one thing. These very members of Parliament who raised their hand for the passing of this Online Safety Bill will be the same who will be at the receiving end at the time when they are out of Parliament, which day is not too far.
Now, another interesting proposal that you are bringing is that there should be no unsolicited proposals to government ministries and departments over $1 million, which is of course not the case. In the past couple of years, we have seen so many unsolicited proposals coming through. Tell us about that.
The unsolicited proposal is a word, is I would say a 4-letter word that has been brought in, though it is not 4 letters, right, to the vocabulary to cover the fraudulent transaction. Nothing but. When they have somebody in mind to be given the contract, they get him to do a proposal. How does he get to know about all these requirements? Because he has been fed with all such requirements. No one else. Why should only he be fed with such requirements? Why shouldn't it be a transparent process? Why can't that be a competitive bid? Be it road construction, be it some overhauling of aircrafts, or maybe purchase of aircraft, maybe military equipment. Like that, there are so many things, the millions and billions of, or maybe coal power, maybe fuel. Why should that be? Let there be a transparent. Don't wait till the last moment. Those who wait till the last moment, the public officials should be sacked. They are not worthy of holding such posts. If they didn't know, if the coal was going to come to an end, the stocks of coal that they have, until it is ending in there is 1 month's time, then they hurry up and they say, my God, there is no coal, we have to buy it on a fast track basis. And then they will get unsolicited offer and then buy it from them. Why should that be? Those people who fail to identify the requirement of such shortage that's going to arise in the future should be dispensed with. They must be sacked from their service.
Well, that's clearly a plan by those officials to engage in corruption.
Orchestrated fraudulent transaction that have been well planned from the very beginning. So such occurrences will not be tolerated.
But again,
but I'm not saying that by these proposals still this is going to be 100% no. There can be still people trying to find ways and means of overriding, overtaking, cutting across here and there, and then trying to do what they want to do. So we have to make the changes as it comes up beyond what we have on paper.
But the small man who takes a bribe of 500 rupees, he may actually need a little bit more cash, or he may be simply following the examples of the leaders of the country. So perhaps it is appropriate that white collar crime be focused on more.
Yes, actually I have a lot of sympathy for those people, be it a police constable, be it a Grama Seva Nildari, be it a school teacher. I mean, particularly those Grama Sevakas and school police constables, they are also fighting hard to survive in this situation. I have come across police officers, police constables who have been there for 25, 30 years. They have not got their promotion. The meager salary that they are getting is not enough to feed their children. Sometimes there may be an aged old mother at home, maybe bedridden, maybe there is a child who is unable to move about. So when you are not giving them the proper salary that with which they can survive, naturally, when a person is dying of starvation at home, won't you be pushed to beg, borrow or steal? This is what they are pushed to. You must legalize. I would say that kind of bribe must be legalized. They can ask for a bribe not more than 500 rupees or 1000 rupees. I'm just saying it with a tongue in cheek. But that is not what we should be doing. We should be concentrating on these white collar crimes. These are the people, they are robbing billions of dollars and billions of rupees. These are state-owned properties and assets. That means these are owned by the people. Any benefits that accrues from such assets have to go to the people for the welfare services to be provided for the children and the needy, vulnerable segments of the society.
So it's particularly heinous that this corruption, white collar crime continues to this day, when the country has been bankrupt for 2 years and government services have been curtailed in a big way.
Yes. We have to, these proposals are not exhaustive. But I would urge that these proposals be adopted and accepted by even those who are in the opposition parties. There is no point telling the government party people, because they are all these proposals have been made because of them, because of what they are doing. So learning from what they are doing, we must prevent even a future government or future government officials or members of parliament, the politicians, the officials, do not indulge themselves in this kind of fraudulent activity. That is why these proposals are there, but they are not exhaustive. But I would urge every party to accept these proposals. And also, people who take up such issues and finally in between they compromise with the person against whom they are making the complaint, and they compromise and then get something under the table and then forget about it. That is a worse crime. What do you call that? It's not white collar, it's a political crime, whatever you call it. That is the worst kind of thing. It's not as Edmund Burke said, that if the people watch what is happened, the evil that happens, if we watch, that's the biggest crime that one can commit. And if the silence of the good men is the triumph of the evil. That's what he said. Silence of the good men is the triumph of the evil. So that is why we have to put this in the right path. That is why we are well in advance. We are identifying these areas and making these proposals, but not exhaustively. We are very humble. Any lawyer can make certain other proposal, or maybe other politician, maybe other political parties can make certain other proposals. We can listen to them and then debate over those and then have them adopted. But these proposals, numbering 116, have been designed with a lot of debate and discussion with the leader of the opposition, Mr. Sajid Premadasa, and other senior people in the party, and we have presented them to Mr. Premadasa on the 11th of February, and he has accepted them at the Imperial Monarch, and then he has given the promise that he will make it part of his election manifesto.
And how fast would you expect these proposals to come into place as law, as legislation? How soon would it come in once it is presented?
Most of it should come into place within 6 months, not beyond. Not beyond. If it doesn't come into place within 6 months, I for one will not associate myself with any of it beyond that.
And certainly 161 proposals, you said? 116 proposals. Well, that would have taken quite a bit of work.
Yes, it took a couple of months. Because the political leaders also in this party were not hasty to go on the political platform and say we are doing this, that and the other, but not do it. We have considered it properly by the professionals and evaluated it, debated over it, and then we have come out with this. These proposals form the system change that people have been awaiting for the last so many decades.
So this is the proposed system change for the justice system.
Well, it's not only for the justice system. We have also proposals there with regard to the enhancement or the encouragement of the investments. We have also made proposals with regard to the Parata execution. Take Parata execution. What happens there? The bank has to make a valuation and then fix an upset price. But they don't do that always. What is the position of the owner? Now, if a property is valued 100 million, whatever the upset price, if there are no bidders, bank offers it to buy it at 100,000 rupees. Is that justifiable? What we are proposing here is there should be upset price fixed, and that will be on the average of the values that have been obtained by the professional valuers by both parties, the borrower and the bank. And you take the average value. And if there are no bidders at the auction, then the bank can buy it. Of course, not at $1,000. They can buy it at the same value. And if the value 100 million properties, maybe 10% less, 90 million, if that's a valuation, bank has to pay 90 million and buy it. If the loan is 25 million, they can deduct when they buy it at that price, then they have to pay the balance money to the borrower.
Back to the borrower.
Otherwise, it's a robbery. It's a daylight robbery. What happens is 100 million properties auction and there are no bidders and the bank buys at $1,000, and behind the scene, bank officials sell it to their kith and kin for 15 million rupees, and the balance money, if the loan is 25 million, another 10 million is sought to be recovered from the borrower.
Well,
it's a robbery.
Certainly that system also needs a lot of change. Yeah. And I'm afraid on that note we are out of time. My thanks to Mr. Upul Jayasuriya, President's Counsel, for a very interesting discussion. Thank you, sir. And thank you to all of you at home who have been watching. Have a good evening.